Hi guys, let's do a deep dive on the Contain Those Crawlers assignment that we did last week. As I was looking through it, about half of the students in the grade were on the right track and doing what they needed to do, and about half seemed really lost. So I wanted to have a little chance to go through things and then give you chances to go back and change anything and resubmit any work that you wanted to. So let's start. So the things that we're going to go over in this ed puzzle is what is a heading, what is a paragraph, what is a complete sentence, how to make sure you're answering all parts of your questions, and lastly, how to check your own grammar and spelling. Here we go. First part, what is a heading? It is a title for a section or block of text. So here's a little excerpt from our reading. The sections are broken up into these questions. So this section here is answering this question here. Oftentimes, headings are bold. So this is bold, and the bold words kind of stand out. So since these questions are bold and they're chunking up the text, those are the headings that are in this text. And for our assignment, this is the question that I asked you that related to this. So it says, predict. Look at the headings. They are questions. What three questions do you think will be the most interesting to read about? So in class, I also put this on the board and I told you specifically what the headings were and basically that you had to write down three. So there are a few different questions, but I'll just kind of back it up real quick. Remember, somebody could have wrote, why aren't there native earthworms in Minnesota? That would have been fine to write down. How did 15 earthworm species get here? That would have been fine to write down. You just had to write down three of these questions. So these answers then are incorrect. So this is what somebody wrote. They did write, how did 15 earthworm species get here? That is one of the things, but I say that you need to write three of them. Okay. Same here. So this person, they made up their own questions, which is great. I love that. But for this specific assignment here, I was seeing if you guys know what headings are, and so I would like you to just write down the three questions that are already on your page of what you think will be the most interesting. All right, so this person made them up, so those would not be right. But these ones are right, or pretty close to right. So this person put down three questions. They didn't answer them with question marks, but those are three questions that are in the text. Same with this person. So the formatting got a little bit weird, but those are three questions. Again, both of these answers would be better if they had question marks on the end. So that is the headings part. So please pause this video now, go to your assignment, and make sure you did this question correctly. If you've already submitted your assignment, you might need to hit the unsubmit button on your Google Classroom assignment for you to be able to type on your assignment. So ask yourself, did you copy down the three headings? Again, those are the bold questions that you think will be the most interesting. Are they complete sentences? Do they end with a question mark? Okay, so make sure you have all those things, and then you can come back to this ed puzzle here and continue to work on it. All right, the next part. What is a paragraph? A paragraph is a section of writing indicated by an indent or new line. So indicated means like marked by, or you could see it by an indent or new line. So in this case, a paragraph is marked by every new line. So these are paragraphs here. These are headings here. So I had a little example on the board, but if you needed any help with that, that is what a paragraph is. So for our actual assignment, this is what I wanted you to do for the rest of the green questions. So it says answers from here on out need to be in complete sentences. Also, you need to tell me what page and what paragraph you got the answer from. And I did an example, and then it says no copying and pasting. So this is an example answer. So it says there are earthworms in the south, but not the north. Why? Answer. The glaciers killed any North American earthworms in our region for the last 1,000 years. So that little sentence at the end there, I'm not really sure what they wanted to say at the end. And this page one, paragraph 2 is where they got this from. So I have read this a lot. And when I first read this, I know that this first part here, they copied that part of their answer from the text. So, like this whole line, they didn't change any of the words into their own words, and it's just copied straight from the text. So I wanted to point that out, is that I do see that and know that. And then the second part, they did that absolutely right. So it had the page one and then paragraph 2. So they found that answer in paragraph 2. So I'm going to go through more examples of this, but that's just one example there of just making sure that when you're doing an assignment in my class that you have complete sentences and you're not copying and pasting, because I do know. All right. The next part, you were talking about this with Miss Moss and Miss Folkers, but what is a complete sentence? Please tag all the complete sentences in 7th grade. So if you're doing anything in 7th grade, if I ask you for a complete sentence, I'm asking you to tag. Okay, that just kind of goes hand in hand. Tag is a method to have a complete sentence. So a complete sentence starts with a capital. This was a really big thing. As I was reading through, about 75% of kids in the class are not starting their sentences with a capital letter. It's really important that you're doing that. Ends with a period or other punctuation. So if you want to end with an exclamation point, or if you need a question mark, but you're ending with that. And then I put the tag in there so that you could help remember what that means. So T is you're turning the sentence around. A, you're answering the question or questions. Or G is you're giving an example or you're checking for grammar. You're going to use the underlined words to help you out, and I'll show you what that means at the end. The underlined words are going to be red or blue, and that'll help you out with your grammar and your spelling. So these are everything that I'm looking for. I'm not going to do a super deep dive into this. I know that Miss Moss has been working with you on this, and Miss Folkers. So here are some other examples of questions from that, or some other examples of answers from that question we just had. So here's one here. So it says there are earthworms in the south, but not the north. Why? And this person says because it is, but they combine those two words, too cold. So this should be TOO, like too cold. And the glaciers killed them, but they had the page and the paragraph right. Nice job. So this is a correct answer, but no tag. So they did not turn the question around. So the reason we tag is because some of these grammar rules just kind of play into tag, and it can help you out. So for example, you should never start a sentence with a conjunction. And a conjunction is like because, and, but, or, any of those words are conjunctions. But if you don't have to remember a lot of those very specific grammar rules if you tag. If you just start the sentence by turning the question around, that works. But for this point, very good answer. They got the question right, but they did not tag, and so there is that little grammar error at the start of the sentence. The second answer here says there is no earthworms in the north. The glaciers killed any native North American earthworms in the region. So this person tried to tag. They started to turn the question around, but there's just some like grammar errors. If they were to have read this out loud, they would have seen that the grammar doesn't quite jive, and it's underlined blue, which means that the computer is trying to let you know that it doesn't quite jive. What this person could have done is possibly made it into two sentences or changed some of the words so it made a little bit more sense. And lastly, the third one um, is southern earthworms are either too slow to move to get to Minnesota or they can't survive in Minnesota's winters. So Minnesota was spelt wrong, but this is a good answer. So they kind of combined both of the correct answers into one, and they talked about where they got this from. So they tagged, and there's pretty good grammar throughout. So good answer on this. So pause this video and go make sure you have complete sentences in your answers, whether you're starting with a capital, ending with a period, and you're tagging. You're turning the sentence around, you're answering the question, and you're giving an example or grammar check. All right, sorry, I was giving you a little bit of time to pause. All right, so I'm going to keep on going, and I'm just going to give you an example of what this could look like, what like the most correct answer for this question could look like. Now, there's many possible ways to write this, but for this question, it says, there are earthworms in the south, but not the north. Why? And if I were to read this, which I've already read it out loud on your other page, this paragraph up top here talks about glaciers. And this one here talks about how in the south, the native earthworm species move too slow northwards on their own, and they're not going to be able to survive our harsh climate up here. So there's kind of two reasons there's no earthworms up here. So if I were to summarize those, I would say there are no earthworms in the north because glaciers killed any native earthworms. So I turn the question around. That's the start. I answered the question, and now I'm going to do that again. Also, native earthworms in the south move too slow or can't live in Minnesota's cold climate. So I kind of put both answers in there. Now, when you guys answer yours, I would mark it right if you gave either one, as long as you tell me which paragraph you got that from. Awesome. All right, so we're going to next make sure we're answering all parts of the question. There are some questions on this where I asked more than one question. So, for example, this one, explain how all earthworms got in North America in the first place. Who brought them? How? And then it says answer all parts of the question. This one is in yellow, but there's other ones that are not like bolded out like this that have more than one question. So make sure you're reading the full question to see if there's more than one question in it. So here are some answers that I got. Earthworms got here from soils and plants from Europe. This is true, this is good, but who brought them and how? So it's not answering those last two questions. The soils and plants brought from Europe. Again, this is true, but who brought them and how? And then this last answer, they were brought here, so they turn the question around. This is very good. By European settlers. Awesome. In soil used to evenly distribute weight in their ship. So even though they used the wrong there, this is a good answer. I can tell that they listened as I read it out loud because they learned what ballast means, and they tagged it, and all these parts were answered in that question. Okay, so very good. Moving on. So pause this video and make sure you answered all parts of your questions. All right, and then lastly, we're going to talk about checking your grammar and spelling. I'm going to go through on a computer how to do this, so please listen up. I know a lot of this has been review for some of you. It's been brand new to others, but this I think is going to be brand new for everybody. So I have a little document here. So here is an example sentence. So it's underlined red. I can see that right here. I know that this is wrong and I need to change it. So I'm going to right click on your Chromebook. That is just a 2-finger tap. And it says, did you mean? And I can say yes, I meant a example, or I can try to do feedback or any of these other things. Okay. But this is right. So I've done that. Now I've given you this example too, because this is why. So that's why I wrote here about here is a sentence that has many examples of sentences here. Now, this grammar is totally off. The computer should have probably caught that. But here's the deal. If you don't put a period at the end, it's not going to know to even go check it. So see, as soon as I put a period at the end, now it'll go back and say, did you mean this? And even here is a sentence that has many examples of sentences here. I probably don't need all of that, but it's at least not as bad as it once was. Okay. So, doing that. And then sometimes like really small things can look right when you first read over them, but there is a small mistake. Like, for example, here in an example sentence. Now, if I just wrote that, I probably thought that I wrote here is an example sentence. But if I put a period at the end, the computer will catch that. So as I type, I want to make sure that I put a period at the end of my sentence. Because if I don't, it's not going to catch some of these things. But as soon as I do, it will catch some of these things. And I can go back and check them if I need to. But you really need that period at the end. And when you turn something in, you want no blue or no red underlined words. Okay? I don't know how to make that I wish I could put that on bold on this screen, but no blue or no red underlined words. All right. So that is how we do the grammar and spelling. Please go through this. Please pause this video now and go check your grammar and spelling. Make sure there's no blue underlined words. That means that the grammar is off, or no red underlined words. That means that the spelling is off. And that is what we covered. So we covered headings, paragraphs, complete sentences, answering all parts of questions, and checking your grammar and spelling. So go back, check your assignment, and then turn it back in. So I hope these tips and tricks helped you out to get your best grade on assignments in the future. Please, in the future, make sure you have all these things in your questions. We'll continue to work on this. I'll have to do less lessons like this though, as long as everyone is doing that. So, thank you so much for your time.